Happy New Year. Once again, great to have you here with us on Leading Edge this week. A lot of great topics to bring you today, not only talking about some of the interests in the community, but things that we need to think about here going into the new year. I want to get to my first guest here today because we do, like I said, we've got a packed show today. Dr. Marvin Whitfield joining us, and he is with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northwest Ohio, the CEO, the president of the organization. Great to see you here today. So important right here, right now, as we were talking before we came on, to get out the word, especially the word of the need that is out there for mentors and those to help with the organization. Bring us up to speed on where things are as far as Big Brothers Big Sisters is concerned.
Okay, let me start with Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us here to be able to get the word out and talk about the importance of the need of our youth today. As we know, we've all just come out the back end of a pandemic that impacted us worldwide, and with that we had to take consideration during that almost a little over 2-year period. The community as a whole was impacted, but especially our youth. And because of the lack of access due to being isolated for extended periods, we're starting to see an increase in areas of violence due to the frustration associated with it, due to the lack of service availability, but also a disengagement. As we're having challenging times now, because now the community is trying to self-correct itself, finding volunteers to mentor these kids who's already in a crisis, but it was extended and exacerbated due to the COVID.
I told you, my generation, there was so much national advertising when it came to Big Brothers Big Sisters. I grew up seeing what the organization did. These days, not so much. You don't see so many TV ads. So let's bring people up to speed. The mission hasn't changed, has it?
Yes, the mission not only it's still the same, but we had to modify it. Because of now it was just focused on mentoring. Now we have to include trauma, be trauma informed, because now these children are dealing with traumatic experiences due to COVID, impact of COVID. Also suicide awareness. We see an increase in suicide in the space of 10 to 24-year-olds, which is almost unheard of, and extremely, especially within our younger youth. And so the reason why you don't see the visibility is because, like most businesses and nonprofits, we had a big, huge negative impact due to fundraising because it was isolated. And so to communicate, to advertise costs, so having individuals and organizations such as yourself to invite us in to spread the word is how we get back out there into the community.
Well, the other thing, you've got a website here locally, and you just recently released a letter to everybody, kind of giving them an update going into 2023. And in that letter, and we could show people a little bit of that at home, but in that letter, you talked once again, as you're saying, we've seen the effects of inflation, we've seen the effects of the pandemic, but coming out of it, you set some benchmarks, some goals for the new year. What are those?
Yes, so we always look at the community and measure its needs. And so right now our benchmark is to enhance our programming to meet the needs, because now we have to not only encompass mentoring, but also encompass suicide awareness, being trauma informed, and things of that nature. Also, we have to deal with homelessness. Yeah. A lot of our youth are now homeless. Also, training our staff. We used to be just mentors, managed mentorship, but now my whole team is trauma informed, because now we have to be able to, when we screen these kids, identify what child is impacted by trauma and do referrals, and then also enhancing our donorship. Because right now we had over a 200% increase in requests for service, and we don't turn no youth away, so we're constantly chasing the dollar to expand our program to meet the needs.
The mentors, if they're out there thinking to themselves, I think I could do this, they're that train going over the mountain, I think I can, but you don't want the intimidation factor to be that I can't, right?
No.
There's definitely, what do they need to think about in being a mentor?
Well, due to the impact of COVID, a lot of people are busy rebuilding their lives. And so we actually streamline the process without reducing the quality of mentoring. And so we have virtual capabilities. We provide activities at no cost to the mentors. But I tell everybody, you're basically dedicating 4 hours a month, which is 48 hours a year. That means 2 days out of your life to have a meaningful impact on these youth. And it's working. We've seen great success.
I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but our mayor, Toledo Mayor Wade Kapsakavage, he was at Hollywood Casino for the opening of online gambling. He won $8 on a bet for the Detroit Lions, but he donated the rest. He won $8, and he upped that to $100. And you know where that money went?
Where?
Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northwest Ohio.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. His office has been real great. Big Brothers Big Sisters only do mentoring. If you get a chance to go to our Facebook, and you'll hear about the first ever summer program. We don't do summer programs, but we see the need of Toledo. So we put on the first ever Empower Future Leader program. It's an 8-week program, free of charge. And the city helped us fund that along with other businesses. And because of the success, they gave us additional funding to carry it over until the school year.
We hear so much the last couple of years about the failing of our communities, the failing of parenting, leading to the problems that we're having with drugs, we're having with mental health, as you brought up, we're having with violence. So how does the mentor get into that, I guess, the psyche of a young kid and make a change?
Well, that's the great thing about it is all you have to have the passion to want to work with a youth. We have trained specialists that we actually put you through a training, and then we do what you call match support. So within 30 days, within a 30-day period, we reach out to the parent, the youth, and the mentor to give them guidance, but also we create a space where we can do activities, and we guide you through the whole process. And we have great corporate sponsors.
It sounds like you make it really easy.
Yes, you get. And I tell everybody, if you have kids, it's even better because when Toledo Zoo gives us free passes, take your mentee and take your family.
Yeah.
And so we try to create space to where we invest in you as you invest in our youth. And one thing I want to add to that, what you mentioned, is that as an organization, we modified how we view it. We just don't look at the youth, we look at the community itself, because we can do everything right on our side, but if we don't support the family and the community, the youth is going right back to that space.
Yeah.
And so if you go to our website, our partnerships, we actually do referrals for wraparound services. So when we screen the child, we identify the needs within the household and then offer services in that space too.
Oh, wow. It sounds like a great program, something that you should definitely look into there at home. And we also want to bring up in April, you guys have a fundraiser, which you have done annually, but you're getting back to it now full scale. Talk a little bit about what's coming up.
Both for kids' sake. So number one, I'm not from Toledo, but I didn't realize how many people in Toledo bowl and stuff, and how many bowling alleys Toledo have. And I'm proud to say we was kind of nervous coming out because a fundraiser is an investment. And I'm proud to say that at the first day, it was at 75%, 85% the second day, and sold out the last day. So if you want to participate this year, make sure you reach out to us. And it's on April 15th, the 22nd, 29th.
All 3 weekends.
All 3 weekends on a Saturday. You have part of the package. You get free pizza, drinks, but also Toledo has a lot of people who support nonprofits. And so you get to drive drawings. Not everybody who comes to the event going to walk away with at least one prize.
No kidding.
Yes. So not only get a chance to impact the community, help mentorship, free bowling games, pizza, you get to hang out with a bunch of people, but you walk away with a prize too.
If you were to say it, you got a call and you said this organization needs help a few years ago. You stepped in. What's your biggest hope going into 2023 for Big Brothers Big Sisters?
My goal, I originally there to help out, keep the doors open, but my goal is to leave it in a better position than it was, and also to continue expanding the service, because we got to go beyond mentorship and to building future leaders. And that's our new motto, empowering future leaders one match at a time.
Wonderful work. Doctor, thank you so much for spending some time. We very much appreciate it. And once again, if you need more information and maybe this, kind of tugged on your ear a little bit, maybe you have something that you could get involved with, help these Big Brothers Big Sisters organization of Northwest Ohio, check out their website. We'll be right back with more right after this. Once again, thanks to Dr. Marvin Whitfield from Big Brothers Big Sisters spending some time with us there in that first segment. I want to bring on my next guest here today, Will Lucas, who, people are going to see as this interview goes on, they're going to see so many different titles that go next to your name, so many different things you are involved with. But I'll tell you what, I have been so impressed over the years with reading stuff about your background. 2 years ago, you were very involved on YouTube, giving videos out there during the pandemic, letting people know, hey, if you're getting up in the morning and you're not doing X, Y, and Z, there's a problem. And here's where I'm going to direct you. But Will Lucas, I'll tell you what, folks, a great asset to our community. And that was no more important than a couple of weeks ago, a Touchstone Award for you. Talk about that a little bit.
It was an honor to be awarded the Touchstone Award for contributing to the community to helping make Toledo a better place. And myself, alongside one of my other favorite entrepreneurs, Musa Saluk from Souk Restaurant, we were awarded as contributors to helping the community be a better place to live. So it means a lot.
Press Club of Toledo giving out those awards annually. So, Will, I wanted you to come on here today as we go into a new year to talk about kind of the things that you see important in the new year when it comes to Toledo and how you have invested in this community, not only blood, sweat, and tears, but also dollars. Talk about the importance of this new year and where you see things right now.
Toledo is at a really, an interesting point because, for the life of me being born and raised here in this community, we've talked about Toledo's potential. My entire life I've heard if we can do this right, and this right, we're finally going to get to reach our potential. And it's actually happening now with what the Metro Parks is doing along the Riverwalk, with other neighborhoods in the city getting invested in. Yeah. We're actually at a really interesting point that if we can make, just change our attitudes about the community, we'll also get our own individual opportunities to be a part of that. What's important to me is that not only just rich folks and people who are, have great resumes get opportunity to take advantage of this opportunity, but anybody who has an interest in being part of the change in this community has allowed the opportunity to do so.
And I'll tell you what, our first segment talking with Dr. Whitfield, it doesn't necessarily mean dollars, investing dollars. It means investing time. It means investing in our people, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's going to start their own business. My passion is to talk about entrepreneurship, though. So there are people who have dreams and ideas and have goals and visions. My job is to help them see both a representation of somebody who's taking a risk and betting on themselves and to show that path. That's why I was doing those videos on YouTube, is to show some of the things that worked for me along my journey.
How did it start for you? Where was it an idea? Was it a vision? Was it somebody who impassioned you to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, my father, since I was a kid, I'd always seen him, starting businesses and trying to make a go of entrepreneurship. And so that, from a very early age, was impactful to me because I could never see myself working for somebody long term as an employee. I wanted to run something. When I was a kid growing up, you asked a 7th or 8th grader, when I was growing up at least, and you asked them, what do you want to do when you graduate from school? 80% of my counterparts would have said, I'm going to go work in this factory, get a job at this car company. Right. And my thought even then was, well, who's building the next one? Not that that's a bad job, but to me, it was something that you didn't aspire to. It was something if you get one, great. But I wanted to talk about what are we building next? And so hopefully having representations of people in the community who are building something towards the future is inspiring to somebody else.
It reminds me of Wayne Gretzky's quote where he says, I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where the puck's going, right?
Right, that's absolutely right.
Same kind of thing.
I didn't learn until I went to China about 10 years ago that Toledo sits in the only place in the country where you have the highway that goes as far north as you can go, as far south as you can go, as far east as you can go, as far west as you can go. They cross right here. And so that's a very interesting thing when you talk about what we can do as far as logistics, what we can do as far as supply chain, the entrepreneurial opportunity that's available in this marketplace, in this particular geography, is unlike what's available anywhere else.
Talk a little bit about your investment in tech and how that came about. Talk about your company, and then I want you to touch on Toll House as well.
Yeah, I have several companies. One of them is Toll House that you just mentioned. It's a private social club. And then we have Creatio. It's a full-service marketing technology and production company. So we do everything. We focus on companies and organizations that are trying to reach and engage multicultural and diverse audiences. So if you're trying to do that, that's what we do. And we're the only company in the region that's minority-owned and is doing this work. And so we do everything from full-service video production, app development, website development, communication strategy, design, and more. That's what we do, and that company's about 12 years old now.
And Toll House.
And Toll House, private social club. We're a playground for adult entrepreneurs. And so what we wanted to do was organize folks in the community with whatever it is that you're doing the work to help Toledo be what it could be if we got out of our own way. And so we're for the city-dwelling creative and entrepreneurial class. And whether you're doing work in healthcare, or whether you're doing work in your small business, or whether you're doing work painting murals, this is a place for you to come congregate and have access to multiple bars and lounges. The first jazz club in the city is inside Toll House. Lucille's Jazz Club. We have golf simulators, all sorts of programming. Even coming up next week, we have a talk with a venture capitalist who intended to raise $20 million, ended up raising $50 million, and is from Toledo.
No kidding.
So these are times of conversations and programming we put on for our members.
Talk about the backside. We have seen so much development along Summit Street, of which you've been involved, but talk about the backside, LaGrange Village, the north side of Toledo. Where do we need to put our focus? Because we've done stories here where we've talked all about what downtown has become. Yeah. And rightfully so, right? I mean, it has been a reinvigoration of downtown Toledo. And like you said, get out of our own way and create these things. But Where does that ripple effect, that tide, need to go in 2023? How does it extend?
Yeah, from my perspective, I mean, I'm very careful when I have these conversations because my interest is in commercial real estate.
Sure.
So I don't really dabble into residential real estate. But what I do believe is important is that we're showing a representation of what is possible to people who live in neighborhoods that have been historically underserved, and show what is possible, you know, just a block away. If you get involved, you make the right outreaches, and these things are happening. And that's why I mentioned earlier, I don't want just folks who have always been in the realm of opportunity to get these opportunities, but people who can just reach out, send an email, social media. You can reach out to folks and get in the door in a lot of these places and spend some time working on the ground. Like I did, I interned for free when I got started, but it put me in the right places to where the opportunities were.
When I do interviews, sometimes I ask people, give me 3 things. Well, I've decided that 3 things is too many. 1 is not enough. So give me 2 things that you think from a focus standpoint are important for people to think about going in through 2023 to make Northwest Ohio stronger, make Toledo stronger.
I'll give you those 2. One of them, I think, is our largest companies need to prioritize investing locally. So when our biggest companies in town are hiring, you know, dry cleaners, or they're hiring financial firms, or they're hiring, you know, they're outsourcing any type of service, they should default to hiring local companies. There are a lot of local companies who do this work, and if they get a leg up by an opportunity to work with some of the biggest companies, they can scale their business. And secondarily, I think entrepreneurship should get the actual fair word it should have, and you know, we should value entrepreneurship in this community. There are so many people in this community who have ideas and don't see where the outlet is to make their dreams real. The biggest companies in the world have recognized that this is a very generic type of demographic, and that's a good thing. That's a strength, because if it works here, it can work anywhere. So we think about the ununiqueness of our demographics and our characteristics as something that's, you know, can be frowned upon, but there's actually value there. If you can get your idea to work here, there's a greater opportunity it can scale somewhere else. So I think we should focus on boutique, you know, startups. We should, you know, think about things. How do we test things here? How do we become, a friend of mine, Adam Levine said, how do we become the country's guinea pigs and crash test dummies? Like, in that way, Toledo has a very great value proposition.
Will, great job. We appreciate it as always. Great insight, great conversation. Good luck to you in the new year.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Well, welcome back for our final segment here on Leading Edge. Stephen Lewis joining us here on Leading Edge here this afternoon, this morning, when you may be watching there at home. Stephen, I want to talk about, because of the week we've had here from a news perspective, I brought you in because I immediately saw your business over on Reynolds Road. Emergency Heartbeat CPR, correct?
Correct.
That is the place that you have had near and dear to your heart over the last couple of years. And obviously, things came to a head Monday night when everybody started talking more about the importance of knowing CPR, and secondly, having those AEDs available. Talk to us about your business first and foremost. How'd you get involved in this?
Well, I got involved with this through the Toledo Fire Division. I did 33 years there. I was a captain, safety officer, training officer, hazmat. I've been teaching CPR and first aid over 30 years now. So, and I have done, and I see the importance of saving a life.
Right.
And so with that, I know that it works.
Yeah.
I know that it works.
Yeah. And as far as the AEDs being on site, being available, that is something that we, in our reporting this week, we have noticed that there are communities that, I'll tell you what, that was a bellwether moment for them to realize, hey, no matter the cost, we have to have these in our parks. We have to have these, schools already have to have them.
Absolutely.
But businesses are starting to think, maybe this is something we need to put the dollars down for.
Right. Great question. Great question. With that, we don't just need the AEDs at these locations. We need trained individuals that can work these pieces of equipment. Why? Because we want to be more, what I want to say, we want to be more prepared for our community. We don't want to be afraid. We want to be prepared.
Yeah.
We want to be able to look at a situation and handle that situation until the fire department gets there. And with that, as we look at the statistics, over 350,000 people die every year. That means 7 out of 10 people that are dying. Right. Cardiac arrest happens more than heart attacks. Correction, with colorectal cancer, fires at home, shootings, breast cancer, car accidents, all in one. cardiac arrest happens more than that.
And all of the,
and with that also,
Yeah.
I want to say that,
Yeah.
that women are less likely to get CPR than men are.
No kidding.
People of color are less likely to get. So we need more people that are involved in this to be able to know that in their hands, they have the ability to save somebody's life.
And what is the learning curve? I mean, it's somebody, just kind of when our first segment, we were talking about the intimidation of being a big brother, big sister, but what is the intimidation factor, or should there not be an intimidation factor to learning this?
That's the reason why my class is a great class, because I bring the intimidation factor way down. I can teach kids, I even had interpreters in my class that I had to teach. There's so many people that moved to Toledo, you would be so shocked.
Yeah.
That come to take these type of classes. And with that, you want to have them prepared, because like I tell them, it might be you that it happens to, because everybody always thinks that it's going to be somebody else. But what if it's you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want somebody in your family, for one, because 90% of this stuff happens at home, and wow, more,
Right.
what do I want to say, 70% of people die,
Yeah.
only 6% of these people survive.
We have heard all week, Damar Hamlin's family has said, thank God there was the time factor that was, you know,
Absolutely.
they didn't have any more time spent trying to get help. The help was already there on that field. I want to show everybody at home the address, the phone number on how to get a hold of you and how to get in touch with your service. You were telling me you do this 4 to 5 times a month?
Yeah, 4 times a month.
No kidding.
It's at 1822 North Reynolds, between Door and Bancroft. Also, I do travel, but it has to at least be 10 people for me to travel. But let me go back real quick.
We got 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
That was a quiet storm.
Yeah.
What happened to that young man. That everyone was there, and that's the reason why it's so important for us to learn this skill, because with a cardiac arrest and a heart attack, they're 2 different things. With that cardiac arrest, there were people there right away to be able to use their hands and the equipment, meaning the AED, to save that individual's life.
Right. But these are things, skills that everybody can learn, whether or not you're in the position or not.
Absolutely.
Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
All right.
We'll be back right after
Yeah.
this.